everybody. So this is Tuesday, and I thought I'd do a quick read aloud time with you. This is my dog Bumper, who's going to walk away now. Bumper, come here. Bumper, come. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Down. Good boy. So let's see if he stays for a couple of minutes. So we're going to continue reading our book, The City of Ember. If you didn't catch up, there's a video on our YouTube with the last reading. And if you remember from last week's reading, Lena and Dune found the E in the pipeworks to help them know where to go. They climbed down by the river and then, look, he's just going to lay there. And then they found a door with a metal panel. So that whole thing that we were talking about where it was a metal pan on the directions was a metal panel, not a metal pan, right? So interestingly enough, they are down in there right now, and we're going to see how far they can get and what happens today. And Bumper's just going to sit there and take a nap and listen while we read, and you can draw or listen, draw while you listen, that sort of thing. But just for fun, here we go. So Lena reached for it and then drew her hand back. Remember, she's got the panel, and inside the panel, they found a key, which is super cool. Shall I do it? She said, or shall you? You do it, said Dune. So she took the key from its hook and put it in the keyhole. She turned it and felt a click. She grasped the door handle and pushed, but nothing happened. She pushed harder. It won't budge, she said. Maybe it opens outward, said Dune. Lena pulled. The door still didn't move. It has to open, she said. We unlocked it. She pulled and pushed and hauled on the handle, and the door moved, not inward or outward, but sideways. Oh, this is how it goes, cried Lena. She pulled the handle to the left, and with a deep, rasping sound, the door slid away into a slot in the wall. Behind it was a space of utter darkness. So it slid into the wall, kind of like, well, you don't normally slide into the wall, but kind of like a sliding closet door. It's that kind of door. So instead of pushing open or closed, it slid sideways. They stared. Lena had expected to see something when the door opened. She had thought there would be light behind it and a path or road. Shall we go in? Said Lena. Dune nodded. Lena stepped across the threshold. The air had a dank, stuffy smell. She turned to the right and put her right hand against the wall. It was smooth and flat. The floor, too, was smooth. There might be a light switch, she said. She patted the wall just inside the door from the floor to as high as she could reach, but found nothing. Dune turned left and felt on the other side, with the same result. Nothing, he said. Very slowly, keeping a hand on the wall and tapping the floor cautiously with their feet before every step, Dune and Lena made their way in opposite directions. Each of them soon came to a corner and turned again. Now they were going deeper into the dark. They both had the same thought. Is the way out of Ember a long, dark tunnel? Must we go mile after mile in absolute darkness? What do you think? We'll find out. But suddenly, Lena gave a yelp of surprise. Something's here on the floor, she said. Her foot had banged against a hard object. She knelt down and touched it cautiously with her hands. It was a metal cube, about a foot square. It's a box, I think. 2 boxes, she added as she explored farther. Dune took a step toward her in the darkness, and his knees banged into a hard edge. There's something else here, too, he said. Not a box. He ran his hands along it. It's big and has a curved edge. The boxes are small enough to lift, said Lena. Let's take them out where it's lighter and see what they are. Come and help. Dune made his way to Lena and picked up one of the boxes. They walked back through the door and set the boxes down a few feet from the river's edge. They were made of dark green metal and had gray metal handles on top and a kind of latch on the side. Can you picture it? It's going to be really important to picture some of these things coming up, okay? So try and make that image in your head from the description. The latches opened easily. Lena and Dune raised the hinged lids and looked inside. What they saw puzzled and disappointed them. Lena's box was full of smooth white rods, each about 10 inches long. At the end of each one, a little bit of string poked out. In Dune's box were dozens of small packets wrapped in a slippery material. He opened one and found a lot of short wooden sticks, each with a blue blob on the end. Both boxes had a label on the inside of the lid. Can you guess what they are? I hope somebody knows. The label on Lena's box said candles. The label on Dune's box said matches. And under it was a white, 1-inch wide strip of some kind of rough, pebbly material. Do you know what that is when you're thinking about matches and how you have to strike them? What does candles mean? Lena said, puzzled. She took out one of the white rods. It felt slick, almost greasy. And what does matches mean? Said Dune. Matches what? He took one of the small sticks from its packet. The blue stuff on the end was not wood. Could it be something to write with? Like a pencil? Maybe it writes blue. Remember, they don't have these things, right? But what's the point of a whole box of tiny pencils? Asked Lena. I don't understand. Dune frowned at the little blue-tipped stick. I don't see what else it could be, he said finally. I'll try writing something with it. On what? Dune looked around. The floor was too damp from the spray of the river to write on. I could try it on the instructions, he said. Lena handed them to him. Carefully, he rubbed the blue end of the stick along the edge of the paper. It didn't leave a mark. He rubbed it along his arm. No mark there either. Try this white stuff, Lena said, pointing to the white strip inside the lid of the box. He scraped the blue tip across the rough surface. Instantly, the end of the stick burst into flame. Dune cried out and flung the stick away. It landed on the floor a few feet off, where it burned brightly for a moment and then sputtered out. They stared at each other, their mouths open in astonishment. There was a strange, sharp smell in the air that smarted in their noses. Have you ever smelled that after you light a match? Right? It makes fire, said Dune, and light. Let me try one, said Lena. She took a stick from the box and ran it across the rough strip. It blazed up fiercely, but she managed to hold onto it for a moment. Then she felt the heat on her fingers and let go, and the flaming stick dropped over the ledge and into the river. Fire sticks, said Dune. Are they what saves Ember? I don't see how they could be, said Lena. They're so small, they go out too fast. She shivered. This was not turning out the way she'd thought it would. She held up one of the white things. Anyway, what are these for? Dune shook his head in bewilderment. So he has no idea, right? Maybe a candle is a kind of handle, he said. Maybe you tie the stick on with the string, and then you can hold it longer while it burns. It would still go out just as fast, said Lena. Yes, said Dune, but it's all I can think of. Let's try it. With a great deal of effort, they looped the string of a rod around one of the sticks. Lena held the rod while Dune scraped the blue tip into a flame. They watched the stick flare brightly, making shadows jump up behind them. The wood turned black, and the charred fire stick crumbled and dropped to the ground. But the light didn't go out. The string itself had caught fire. As they watched, it sputtered and smoked and then burned steadily, filling the little room with a warm glow. It's the movable light, said Dune in awe. All Lena's excitement flooded back. And now, she said, we can go back into the room and see what's there. What do you think's in there? They went back down the passage to the doorway and stepped inside. Lena held the movable light at arm's length before her. In its flickering glow, they saw something made of silvery metal. They walked slowly around, examining it. It was long and low, filling up the center of the room. One end of it came to a point. The other end was flat. Across the open middle stretched two metal strips. 4 stout ropes were attached to the outside, one at each end and one on each side. And on the floor of the things were 2 poles, each flattened at one end. Any guesses? Look, said Lena, there's a word on its side. They squatted at the pointed end and held the flame near the word. It said in square black letters, B-O-A-T. Boat, repeated Dune. What does that mean? I don't know, said Lena. And here's another word on these poles. Paddles. The only paddle I know is the one Mrs. Polster uses on kids who misbehave in school. Once again, she took her copy of the instructions from her pocket and consulted it, holding it in the light of the flame. Look, she said, right here. O-A-T must be boat. And the next part must say, stocked with necessary equipment, said Dune. That must be what's in the boxes. Then there's this. Lena ran her finger along the next line. See, we're reading where all of the gaps are in the message, right? This word must be ropes, she said. Then lower. And then, would this word be downstairs? Maybe it says head downstairs. That doesn't make sense, said Dune. There aren't any stairs except the ones that go up. He frowned at the word, and then he took a short, sharp breath. Downstream, he said. The word must be downstream. It must say something like, use the ropes to lower the boat and head downstream. He looked up at Lena and spoke in a voice full of wonder. The boat goes on the water. It's something to ride in. They stared at each other in the flickering light, realizing what this meant. There was no tunnel leading out of Ember. The way out was the river. To leave Ember, they must go on the river. What do you think they're going to do with this information? Are they going to get in the boat and go? What about their families or the rest of the people in Ember? What would happen to them if they leave? Interesting. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Tomorrow we will continue reading. Tomorrow we're on chapter 15. It's called A Desperate Run. Are they going to run? We'll find out. I hope you guys have a good day. Have a relaxing day, kind of like Bumper. He's just laying around today. Are you a good boy? Come here. Huh? Yeah. He's just too lazy. He doesn't even want to get up, huh? Enjoy. The sun is coming out and the snow is melting. So I hope it's a good day for everybody, and I will talk to you tomorrow. I miss you guys. Bye.